it's Sheree here from spicefitness.com, and I want to talk to you today about how important our glutes are. What are our glutes? I had someone that trained with me for a while before, and after a year of training with me, they said, Sheree, what are your glutes? Your glutes are these things. Okay, so we have a gluteus maximus, gluteus minimus, and gluteus medius. So we're talking more today about firing up the gluteus maximus, which is the most protruding bit of your bottom. Now, bottoms are made for far more than looks. I know when we're teenagers and stuff like that, particularly in this day and age where everyone goes to the beach and ramps up their bikini up between their butt cheeks, they are more for the look and the shape. That's often a genetic thing, and you can build it up to a certain degree, but that will often be a genetic thing as well. But today, we're focusing more on how our glutes work for us, and if they don't, looking at how we can get them to fire up and fire up in the right order as well, because you can have wonderfully activated glutes in that when you squeeze them, you can feel full activation, but if they're not going in the correct sequence, then you can have sore lower back and a multitude of problems. So today we're just going to be looking at some simple little tips, some simple little stretches and ways that you can fire them up. So I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know any questions you have as we go along, and or just tell me if you're enjoying it or whatever, and I'm glad that you could join me today. So when you think about the glutes, which are the butt muscles, the tush, they're important for explosive movement, rotational movement side to side, and stability of the lower back. So if they're obviously not working properly, and particularly as we age, don't forget, our muscles start to shrink, sarcopenia, and so as our muscles shrink, they don't work like they once did. You see old people shuffling along and they can barely lift up their feet from the floor. Well, I can guarantee if I looked at their glutes, and obviously a whole range of other things, but their glutes play a very important part in being able to lift your leg from the floor. And if you're doing steps or something, then they do play a very important part in being able to lift that leg up. And so as we age, particularly if those glutes aren't functioning and firing as they should, then you're going to experience shuffling along, and often people will trip because they shuffle too much. So really important as you get a bit older. So the gluteus maximus is an extensor of the hip and the trunk muscle, so the torso. So if you lack full hip extension, which is why we'll talk a bit about today about hip mobility as well, because it all intertwines. There's no one muscle that you can work that acts alone. So every muscle in our body is attached to other muscles, attached to other bits that all seem to work well, they all work together, they need to work together. And so our glutes, to be good glutes, we also need good hip mobility as well. And if you lack that good hip mobility, which just means that hip can move and is mobile and is not locked into place, then if you do lack that mobility, you won't be able to use your glutes efficiently while you're doing normal everyday activities. So, and yeah, if you can't use your hips properly, then you will inhibit your glutes, so they don't get the chance to work as they actually should. Hi Rosie, good to see you back again. And so the hamstrings, ones that run down the back of their legs, so these are your hamstrings down here, and they actually support the pelvic girdle and also your lower back. So will often take over the work of the glutes if your glutes aren't working properly, and hence you get lower back pain. Many times I've seen clients come into the gym and they'll have lower back pain, and you start to get them stronger both in their glutes and back, but you get their glutes firing and working properly, and it's incredible how many times after a couple of months of training they'll go, hey, I used to get back pain just while standing, or while just watching my son play soccer at the footy at the sports ground, and they don't get that back pain anymore. So that's what we want to achieve. So we need to get glute activation before we actually start to strengthen them. So in other words, we need to get those glutes firing. We need to feel the squeeze, the activation, before we actually start to strengthen them. So if we look at the very simplest thing that you can be doing right now, imagine the Queen is coming by, inspecting your group to see the lovely craft work that you've been doing over the last month. But you've had way too much fruit this morning. You can feel that fart welling up. Now, a simple thing that you can do, and I think we can all relate to this because we all fart, we all pass wind, is simply squeezing those glutes. You try it at home right now. Squeeze those glutes and you will activation. That's an activation of your glutes. Try and hold it. See if you can hold it for 5 or 6 seconds. That's about as easy as it goes. Okay, but if I want to say do a standing up one, and I hope you can see my head if I stand up. I'm just going to do a stand up one, and I'm just going to stand here. Now, then you lift. Okay, so you're not trying to lift this leg without activating that glute first. So it's a little squeeze. I can feel that activation. And if you're not sure whether you can feel the activation, just put your hand there. It's no big deal to feel what you need to be feeling. So then before you even lift, hand there, feel the squeeze. I can feel it. Lift. Okay, and of course you do it one leg, you're going to do it the other leg. That's as simple as it gets. But now I'm going down to the floor, and I'm going to show you some little ways you can activate on the floor as well. So I'm just going to go onto the floor, and I'm just on my hands and knees. Now I need to make sure that I don't have an excess curvature of my back, so I don't want my hips up like that. So I'm just going to gently keep that back straight, but just let those hips have a slight pelvic tilt. And then from here, I'm just going to take a leg up. I'm going to activate my glute first, then I'm going to lift, bring it down. Activate first, lift. Okay, so it's as simple as that. This is a great way to get those glutes activated and learning to work in sequence. If you wanted to work that a bit harder, you could always, oh actually not that bad, I was going to put my other band. If you want to work a bit harder, I love to take a band around my foot. You may want to take it around your foot. I'll probably not twice, I won't. But if you're down on the floor with this, you want to keep that foot flexed. So from here, I'm going to lift out and it'll lift up. Now I can really feel that glute working hard now. So it's a very good way to activate those glutes. Just make sure that that band doesn't slip off. Now going back, I've stepped forward too quickly. So I want to take a step back and show you how you can easily test yourself at home to see whether your glutes activate first before your hamstrings or lower back. If you can feel the contraction first in your lower back or hamstrings, you know your glutes are not firing in sequence. And so being able to do some of these things where we learn just to squeeze the glute and lift, and you know, you can even be on the floor as well and be doing this. So I'm just going to take you down to the floor. I'm going to get you to take a hand. So one part of my hand is on my butt cheek, the other is my fingers are on my hamstring. And all I'm going to do here, so I'm just going to lie my chin down, and all I want to do is lift my leg off the floor. So you're just going to lift your leg off the floor. If you also want to feel whether your back's taken into account, you can take the other side, your hand in your lower back, maybe lay your chin down, and then lift. And see which bit activates first. Now, many people come in and I will find their hamstrings will just do that squeeze just before the glutes. So the glutes then are not firing as they should. So for many of you at home, you just have to simply get the sequence right, and then really you'll find that a whole lot of your back pain will go because the glutes are doing the work they are. They were always meant to activate first, but in our busy lives, doing stuff all the time, sitting down a lot, other muscles tend to take over, and so our glutes often get weaker, or they may be strong, but if they don't activate firstly, then you're going to have some problems and it will show through. So simply lying on the floor and doing those little stand leg lifts where you activate. So just get used to putting your hand on your bum and feeling the squeeze first. That's what you need to start to learn to do. Another one that I wanted to do is, sorry, just have a quick look at my notes over here. Yes, some bridges as well. So lying on the floor and bringing our feet close to us, and then we're just going to roll up vertebrae by vertebrae and bring up these hips. Now, really the whole time that you're here, I want you to think about the squeeze into these glutes you're going to be doing. So the squeeze, 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 and come down vertebrae by vertebrae. You want these feet fairly close to your butt, and we're going to be lifting up again. Lifting, 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 and squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. Keep it squeezed and bring it down. Now, if you want to make that work a little bit harder for you, you'll work your hamstrings as well, by the way, so you'll feel these hamstrings working. Just going to pop this around my leg, and this band will simply help to hold the hips more stable so that we should really fire up the glute maximus.
So as I press out against that band and I lift, yeah, and I can really feel those glutes squeezing. So you can do that press against the band, lifting up, squeezing, 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 and then coming down. So have a try of some of that at home. It's actually pretty good. I could feel my glutes working quite hard. Now, I'm going to do some step-ups because step-ups, the thing is that our glutes fire up when we do nice high step-ups. They don't fire up so much when we do just normal small steps, but if we can step high, it's amazing how they have to activate and work. So I'm going to stand up, and I simply have a kitchen chair here today. So I'm going to show you how you can be standing up and down on a kitchen chair. Right, so I'm going to put a hand on here, and I'm going to take this up and stepping up. Now for some of you, if you haven't stepped up on a high step before, and I know from some of my older clients, they can't get up that high. So then I let them progress. So we start low and we step up and down. Now I know that their glutes are probably not working as hard as what they could, but as they go along, they can make that step higher. I've got steps with little risers underneath, so then I can make them higher or lower if I want to. So you may find that your chair at home might be a bit high, so you could maybe, just trying to think what else you could use, a load of books with it, or a low coffee table, or
stairwell,
yeah, stairwell with 2 stairs, not 1, 2 stairs if you can. But you're right, so you want to take yourself along. I had one of my clients last week said, Sheree, because she's quite short, she's probably about here, and small, and I had the risers up, probably about here, and she said, I don't think I can do it, you've got to take it down. I said, well, let's just try, even if you've got to hold on. And she was amazed because when she first came to see me about 6 months ago, she could not get her leg up beyond about, a foot off the floor. But being able to get that knee up nice and high means you can do so many more things. I was on this island called Maria Island not long ago, and at the very end of that, the walk, the last half an hour, were massive boulders. So it was a case of leg up here, big jump to the next one, nice big leg pushing through, and it was because these glutes worked well for me, excuse me, I'm just going to do my shoe up, that I was able to traverse my way up to the top. But I would have had to turn around and come back if it wasn't for the fact I've got nice strong glutes. So it's as simple as this. This really fires up the glutes. So you want something that your knee is actually at least equal to your hip. So a bit higher, and then you want to come up. If you've got a chair like this, you could hold on to it if you're a bit afraid to, but otherwise stepping up, stepping down. And then you could add a knee. So, yeah. And so you can keep going there. Obviously you're going to swap legs as well, but that big high step up, take that knee up, coming back, swinging up, coming back, swinging up, coming back, is really firing up my glute right now. It's doing a whole lot of leg work as well, but those glutes love to be fired up by that. Make sure you don't go on that till fatigue, because if you start to fatigue yourself too much, your hamstrings will take over. And so you want to keep those glutes firing. So I'll just pop that chair back. Right, what else? Let's roll that around. Okay, so I was just going to show you another little glute one that I just love. It's one that I do in most of my classes, and it just feels good. And you can add a weight to it too if you wanted to. So I'm just going to sit on my ball. Make sure the camera's okay. We're all good. I'm just going to sit on my ball, and from here, I'm just going to drop down. So my hips drop down. Now, from here, I want you to squeeze the glute cheeks before you even start going up. Then as we drive up, I want you to push down through your heels and continue to squeeze these glute cheeks. Really, really activates them well. As we come down, I can relax. Then I'm going to squeeze in before I even lift up, drive them up, push down through the heels. Don't come up so high that you have an arch there, but just staying kind of in a neutral position there. But I can feel my glutes activated so well right now. So they're working hard. And then dropping those hips back down again. This is a really cool one. So as I said before, you can use a plate or a kettlebell don't put it up here and don't try and lift it, but just let it sit on your legs. You might need to bring those legs in a bit further, dropping the hips and raise it up. And having an added weight here, I usually use about a 15 kilo weight, but at home you may start with a 5, but I can certainly feel these glutes activating. So that is a fantastic way to make sure that those glutes work as they should. Right, my little notes here just keep going around to the side. So I'm just going to have a little peek now, a little talk, about your hip flexors. So your hip flexors often get tight. So hip flexors are several muscles that sit. No, it's fine. Simone, it's fine. Simone, it's fine. So I've got a friend here trying to help me, and she's not actually helping. So we'll leave my stuff where it is. So the hip flexors run down into your front, around into your back, and what they do, they actually bring your knees up or your torso forward. So they flex us. So they flex our legs up, or they flex our trunk forward. And these can be prone to tightness, particularly in this day and age where we sit a lot of the day at our desk, and even side lying in bed, so you're on your side with your knees up, so you're lying in bed, can cause tightness there because we spend extended hours either at a desk or in bed, or gee, even worse if you're at a desk all day and you're a side lying with your knees up. You're in that flex position a fair bit of the day. And so this can also impact as well with our glutes, because our hips, it's all attached, so it makes our hips tighter and not as mobile. So I'm just going to have a bit of a look at the hip flexors as well. And so if you are tight in here, it can cause a pelvic tilt. So I'm just hoping you can see me if I stand up. So just if I'm here, so don't worry, I'll just come down the floor. So if I'm tight here, it will cause my pelvis to come back, and I'll end up with more of a lordosis, like a curve in my lower back. So we don't want that. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go on the table, I'm going to show you how you can test yourself out to see whether you have tight hip flexors or not. So a simple thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up onto the side of the table. So simply here. So then I'm going to take my feet up, I'm going to roll back and bring my knees, hopefully not looking straight up my bottom, as I'm just going to bring my knees up to my chest like this. Then I'm going to make my back flat on the floor, so my back is flat on the floor, and I'm then going to drop one leg down. So this knee is staying right into the chest, and this other one, actually I need to come forward a bit. So I'm going to take both knees in for a start, I'm going to drop one down, and then see how far that comes down. Now you can see that this leg doesn't quite touch the floor, the thing. So guess what? I've got quite tight hip flexors in that. Your aim is to have this down onto the thing. So I'm going to try my other one. So this knee's right into the chest, and I'm just going to drop this other leg down. Chair out of the way. And again, you can see that I'm up off the table. So it would indicate to me, which I know already, my hip flexors are tight. I do quite a bit of bike riding these days, and that obviously doesn't help because there's a lot of this sort of stuff. So it's almost the same as sitting in a chair. Obviously I'm doing a lot more fitness stuff, but I'm still bringing up my knees into that flex position constantly for that period of time I'm on the bike. So if you can't get that leg down to the floor, you will have tight hip flexors. So a great little test to see how you're going with that. So I just want to have to refer back to my notes every now and then to make sure I'm on track and I don't veer too much off to the side. That's all good. So as I said before, if these hip flexors are too tight, what it ends up occurring is that I get this duck sort of position where I have a pelvic tilt, and it sends my hips that way. So I want to be able to bring my hips back the other way. Therefore, I'm going to be looking at a bit of my hip flexors there as well. So, hip flexors. Yeah, so we've already had a test for that. So some of the stretches for that, you can do this as a hip flexor stretch. You can do it standing, but then I'll go down onto the floor. So from here, you're going to take one leg out to the front, one leg out to the back. Actually, I might come back around this way. So I'm going to take one leg out to the front, one leg out to the back, one leg out to the front, one leg out to the back, And then my heel's up at the back. And then all I'm going to do is coming down. You can hold on to a chair if you want. And a little hip tilt. So I'm trying to just do a tiny tilt to the front, or trying to straighten out that curve from my back. And then I can feel a stretch in the front of this hip. So then I can take the other leg, again going down first, and then a little hip tilt. So you're trying to push this hip to the front is basically what you're trying to do. And now I can feel this stretch right into this hip flexor. It feels really nice. So this is where you should be feeling it, the front of that back leg. And that's a lovely, lovely stretch because, as you can see, I'm tight. Good. Now we can even do this down on the floor as well. So I can come down to the floor, take out one leg. So you want to take a big step out. You want to be able to do that little hip tilt as well. We can even come to the front a bit and just a slight lean back. And I can really feel that great stretch there. Obviously, when you do one side, you're doing the other side. So let's take that little hip tilt first. So try and push his hip to the front. So a little lean forward, little lean back. And you can really feel that stretch through there, so that's great. Good. Great, those notes, I just need around to the side a tad. Good. So that was my hip flexor stretches. Now we're going to do a bit of hip mobility as well, because unlocking the hips is essential to getting everything moving and to decrease pain. And as we get older, if you want to be able to go mountain climbing like I did and step over big rocks, you want that hip to be nice and mobile. You want it to be able to move as you move. So frogs are one of my newest ones, and my clients go, not the frogs, but frogs are great. So we're just going to come down to the floor, and I'm going to take my knees as wide as I can. And first of all, I'm just going to rock forward and back onto my hands. Every time I did this with my 87-year-old client this morning, she went, wow, I can feel that. So every time we come back, just try and extend it that little bit more if you can. Try and sit back into it. And if you want to make that harder, if you can, this is going to test you even more. All good, Simone? That's it. Oh, so every time I come back, I'm going to try and hold back there. Good. So this opens up those hips, a really good one to really get those hips a bit more mobile. If you wanted to take that into an inner thigh stretch while you're there, you can take out one leg to the side and then just coming forward, rocking forward and back. So coming forward and back and trying to sit right back into that foot again. That's it. Beautiful. You should feel a nice stretch through there. And obviously when you do one side, you do the other. Now, again, if you found it too hard to come down the floor, you'll still feel that inner thigh stretch up on your hands. So either on your hands or down onto your forearms on the floor. Oh, I can feel that right through here. So I'm actually quite tight in there. Now I'm just going to be showing you, so down on the floor. So the stretch here, you probably all know the one here, but then if you pull that back, you can feel a nice glute stretch and kind of hip stretch. But then if we pull this right around to the side, as far as we can, and pull this knee across, there's a beautiful stretch right through here. I can feel it right through that glute. Can you see me okay, Simone? Great. Hopefully you at home are going to try some of these as well. So I can feel this beautiful stretch through there. So then going on to the other side, and then just bringing that forward and back, and then bringing this right around to the side. As far as you can feel it, you can go around to the side, and I've got a beautiful stretch happening through that side as well. Very good. Another one of my favourite stretches for my hips, actually you might as well stay on the floor for a bit, is just the one, so you're taking one leg straight, one leg is out to the side. You've got this leg flexed on the same side as your arm out to the side. You've got to grab your opposite hand and you're going to pull this right over as far as you can. I'm going to drop that foot onto the floor while I keep this shoulder on the opposite side down. I can feel a beautiful stretch right through my lower back, right through these hips, and it feels divine. and then obviously where you do it on one side. You want to hold these for about 20 seconds at least, and keeping that opposite shoulder down. So you want to be able to hold these for a while, and not just 5 or 10 seconds, but 20 to 40 seconds, even 60 seconds if you're really tight. And one last one I'm going to do is a 90-90 stretch. So we just sit on our bum, on one bum cheek, take the front leg across, the back leg bends and goes back, and from here, got to press that front leg down to the floor, got to hold our chest up nice and high, and then we're going to just lean over that leg. And that is a lovely stretch as well. For some of you, you may even find that the stretch is better with this back leg right out to the back, and then from there, coming forward. Be your choice. Here I can probably feel a fair bit of more of my inner thigh partaking, but this is great. This stretch is a really good one if you get sciatica as well. A lovely stretch to do. So either this one or the one with your leg bent out further behind. I won't do the other side, but that was just showing you just some stuff you can do to really get your glutes activated. Glutes are important. They're more than looks. They are a huge functional tool in our whole body system. That you can be using till your 80s, 90. Well, you never stop using it. Let's just say that. So you need those glutes to fire. You need it to fire in sequence. And hope you have fun trying out some of these. And I look forward to seeing you next time. If you want to know more and want to see any of these replays, they will all be on spicefitness.com. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.